Hello, good evening, everyone. Good to be together again on Thursday evening. I look forward to Thursdays, right? For me, it's thank God it's Thursday instead of thank God it's Friday. We get to hear new ideas, churn on some new concepts, and it gives a clarity. So, welcome everyone. My name is Anita, and I welcome everyone on behalf of Manhattan Center who is joining us on Zoom, YouTube, and Facebook. Very glad you have chosen to be with us. Just first few regular announcements. Recordings of all these talks are available on Manhattan Center's YouTube channel as well as on the Facebook page. You can also access the previous recordings of any of the talks what we have offered earlier. On our YouTube channel, the playlist is titled Wisdom in Action. Manhattan Center also offers live meditation twice a day, Power Boost meditation in the afternoon at 12 p.m. from Monday to Friday, and good night meditation from Monday to Saturday at 8 p.m. and at 7:30 p.m. on Sundays. This month on January 22nd, which is a Saturday, we are offering a workshop, how to change bitter moments into blessings. The timing for workshop is 10 a.m. in the morning. It's for an hour and a half, so it's 10 to 11:30. You do need to register for it if you want to participate in the workshop. So we encourage you to just visit our website, and the link for registration is available and active. Share the information with your friends and family. Encourage them to join a workshop too. Besides that, we are also going to offer a meditation course, Reviving the Higher Self, but that's in month of February. But I would like you to block your dates because I know we haven't offered that for a couple of months. So there have been a lot of inquiries when we are offering the meditation course. So the dates are February 7th to 13th, and it's in the evening from 6 to 8 p.m. And that, once again, the Raj Yoga meditation course, Reviving the Higher Self. So last, not the least, you all have control of your mics. And we encourage you to turn on your video if it is possible. It makes the class more interactive and the speaker feels more welcome. There is a little change again in our program. I know we have said Dr. Rona Schweitz will be giving today's talk, but Sister Rona will be joining from next week. She's doing a silence meditation for a stretch of a time. So she'll be with us from next Thursdays. Today we have Sister Ines Frank, and she was with us last Thursday also. But if you are joining us first time, a little introduction about Sister Ines. She is a student of spiritual studies and a Raj Yoga meditator for 20 plus years. Sister Ines teaches Raj Yoga meditation courses, runs a lot of programs. She's a part of a lot of projects. She's a very active member of the Brahma Kumaris Institution. Besides that, she also is involved into the biomedical research in the area of immunology. And there is one more word, I'm not going to try to pronounce that. All right, so that's all for the announcements. So coming to today's topic. As a humanity, we are divided in so many ways. We live in different continents, different countries. We are divided on the basis of language, on the color, on the religion. But there are also things which unite us. No matter which country, which continent, which religion we belong to, those things are common across the board. very universal. And one of that is need and desire to belong. We want to belong to the family, we belong to a country, we belong to, if those things are kind of not there, even if they are there, right? We still the list goes on. We want to belong to our team, what soccer team or the baseball team, what we play for. There are sororities and there are fraternities we belong. And we say, it's a sense of a family. People join army to belong to a family. And the list goes on. It's not just like we are satisfied after feeling, oh, I belong to family, I belong to this group, or even if you have a very close family bonding in your own family or extended family, this desire is just like unsatisfying. And we just kind of keep spreading our wings, if that's the right word to say. But what was surprising when I was thinking about it is, although we spend so much time and effort to belong and to find even things, nowadays ancestry is something new, right? People go and try to find out their lineage, right? Yeah, that's another thing, right? We want to find out our bloodlines. We belong to aristocracy or royalty or any of those, right? But what was surprising was that it can change just in a second. And if I want to quote an example, people adopt children, and often enough, they don't tell the child until the child is grown up. And the moment that information is shared, things change. Often you find cases where children say, I want to find my own biological parent. I don't belong. I'm not here. Whatever I knew is not, it is all false. The sense of belongingness, I felt like it's not even skin deep. It's just a thought. You change the label, the sense and the allegiance, maybe it's a strong word, but I couldn't come up with anything. It just changes in a second. And then the thought was, why is it so? And this phenomena is also common across the board. It doesn't change whether you're from America or from India. Then the thought was, could it be that all of us, the whole humanity, we are actually aliens in this physical world? And no matter how many ways we find out and we say we belong and we could try to create that sense of identity, it just changes in a jiff. Did you ever think that we are all aliens? All the stories, what they write, the aliens that come and taken over, that's actually us. So I'm not going to expand on it more. I'm going to hand over the mic to Sister Ines, and let's hear from her what she says about sense of belonging. Welcome, Sister Ines.
Thank you, Anita. Good evening and welcome to our Wisdom in Action for tonight. Greetings of peace. So, yes, tonight we will look a little bit at the whole aspect of belonging. And I hope I can bring in something new for you, some new ideas, some new concepts about that whole aspect of belonging, which is, like Anita, you were saying just now, and we all know it, it's a very important aspect in life. We all need to belong, we want to belong, we want to have that experience to be part of something bigger. I'm not so sure how much we think about belonging as such, but we all know about the importance of relationships. So it's part of human nature to reach out, to connect, to build relationships. And I would think that life is really all about relationships and how well I'm able to live my relationships accordingly will also be an experience of belonging. And it's like when you clap your hands, there are always two hands needed to clap, right? So I think tonight we will also look at both sides, because relationship is always a two-way communication. One is what the world gives to me, and then the other aspect, the other way of traffic is how do I relate to the world around me? And where is our meeting point? I find especially that aspect of belonging, it starts in childhood already, right? It is very, very important for the child when the child grows up, the baby grows up, child grows up, to have that experience of safety, of comfort, of feeling nurtured, of feeling protected. This is an experience that allows the being to express, to explore the world in a very safe way. And, you know, how do we make people, how do we get people to do things when we ask them for something? And two main energies that can make things work is fear and love. But then do I want to interact with people where people start to, they may say, yes, I will help you, I contribute or cooperate with you, but there's a sense of fear? Or am I able to inspire others to do things out of love? And so when there is that an experience of safety, security, nurturing, then we are able to, and now I'm specifically referring to babies, little children, when there is that environment, then the child really has the courage to come out, to show what is within, and to develop its own strength, beauty. Just want to give you an example about the impact of interacting at a very, very young age. There's an experiment that is called the still phase. They show baby, maybe a little bit more than 1 year, and the mom. So the baby, naturally, many of you might be mothers or at least have experience with children. The little ones interact, they move. And so the baby was expressing itself, pointing the finger somewhere, looking at the mother, turning its head. So expressing itself. And the mother started to respond. And there was a very beautiful flow of communication beyond verbal expression. between the baby and the mother. And it was very, very beautiful because the baby felt very good. And then it started to, in its own way, to express itself. And then the next step in that experiment was that the mother remains in front of the baby, but with a still face. The mother is not responding to the reaching out or the interest of the baby to communicate with the mom. And that was going on for about 2 minutes. And within these 2 minutes, you could see how the baby initially it was interacting with the mom as it used to be. But then it noticed that there's no response coming. Mom is not moving, mom is not doing anything, not interacting with me. And then you could see how the little one got disorganized very quickly and started to feel very bad. And so after, I think it was, it lasted for about 2 minutes. And then after these 2 minutes, again, the mother started to interact with the baby as usual in a very loving, beautiful manner, very responsive with a friendly face. And again, you could see it took the little one almost a minute, maybe, I don't know, close to a minute, to come back to his or her initial way of interacting with the mom, which was based on joy. Very lively, very expressive, very joyful. And when I saw this, I was very moved. So that whole understanding that the impact on us when there is no sense of belonging, there's no sense of belonging when the other one I'm in relationship with doesn't respond, for example, when there is no friendliness, when there is no love. I am not welcomed, I feel not welcomed, I feel not being accepted. And a baby does not have the brain developed to process things logically. So if this is a one-time event, for example, that the caregiver doesn't respond for a period of time, then, but otherwise it is a healthy relationship between mom or primary caregiver and the baby will come back to its normal behavior relatively quickly and everything is okay. But if this lack of responsiveness happens repeatedly over a long period of time, then that impacts the entire development, further development of the child. And then accordingly, the behavior patterns that will be expressed as an adult, they are not very healthy because they haven't been built on a basis of love. And so at a very, very early age, we are already learning about the self, and I learn about myself in a relationship. I learn about myself and I learn about you. So ideally, this sense of belonging, being in a healthy relationship, starts already at a very early age. But then, of course, even as we grow up, we still have the need and we want to belong. And so dependent on what my interests are and how strong my need for belonging is, I will, I will connect with different groups. sport groups, maybe then at school, at work, will form relationships and interactions that help me to create that sense of belonging. And in terms of belonging and experiencing those relationships, primarily is always this experience of feeling valued, feeling accepted. And then even for adults, so we also perform much better when there is a sense of belonging, when there is a sense of, when I feel accepted. And so how we perform in life and how we feel about our own selves. And then, of course, connected with that is our performance at work, for example, how I live my life, the relationships that I have will be much more of happiness and healthy relationships when there is a sense of belonging. And then, of course, if I, wherever it is or with whomever I am with, if there is the opposite of acceptance, you could say maybe this is rejection. When there is no inclusiveness, that will give the other one then the experience of, oh, I am not part here. I don't belong here. I don't feel that sense. I am part of you or part of this group. If I cannot contribute, if I cannot interact, if I am not part of that community or that group in terms of what we share, together, then there's that sense of rejection and I don't belong. And we all know that this kind of experience is not very healthy. And so I think the whole pandemic, and it's going on for quite some time, the lockdowns we had, or even now the social distancing and wearing masks and all of that, has certainly enhanced that sense of I am not part, I am separate from others, I'm separate maybe even from my family, from other people. I cannot go out and do what I want to do and meet people and do things together. And that extended period of time to having to be with my own self, or maybe with the immediate family, with one or two or maybe even three people together. If we get along very well, I wouldn't have had any problems. But if there is any difficulty in relationship, then that whole experience will probably have supported or brought out that sense of separation. And for some, even loneliness. And so that can take us then into a way of thinking that is really not very healthy. And so we know globally, actually, the mental health problems have increased dramatically, anxiety, depression. And so in a way, all of that has to do or is connected with my sense of belonging. Now, of course, nowadays, or even, when we were little, who had a perfect family or a perfect upbringing? Hardly anyone. We all had our own experiences, and at many times, probably, the way things were going, I may not have felt, so much that I'm in a safe, protected, nurtured environment. But then now as adults, as children, our processing of information is very different compared to when we are now, grown up. We can think, we have choices, we can learn, we can understand. And even though maybe, different things happened in my past that didn't foster that sense of deeper belonging and, a sense of belonging where I feel really deeply fulfilled also and close to myself, maybe even close to God. There is still a lot that we can do for ourselves now and also for others. And maybe not only can, but it's our responsibility to do so. And, my duty here also, or my role here is also to share with you, especially from a spiritual dimension. And this is where we now move into recognizing the responsibility I have for myself, recognizing the importance of what I think, how I use my mind, the feelings I have. So to take responsibility for that and create a very healthy relationship with my own self, because that's really where everything starts. And of course, also belonging. In a way, I first have to really belong that, I'm with myself. I belong also to myself. And to have an inner state of love and unity from where I can then interact with the outer world. One deep aspect and very empowering aspect, concept in spirituality that we learn is the importance of our inner world, my own inner well-being. And to live life from not always just consuming and taking information in my mind, but actually become a giver and start to contribute. But if I want to give, we have to have something, right? I have to have it first in order to give it or share it with someone. So one is the whole concept of going within and then creating a world, an environment within my own self that is very empowered, where I feel empowered. And then from there, we're going to go into more detail here soon, but then from within, I connect with the outer world. Now, a baby, typically, babies are very sweet. There's a purity they carry, an innocence that they carry with them. And they actually come from their inner world, and then they meet you from there. But if there's any adverse experience that the child experiences, the child cannot process it. and very quickly gets overwhelmed with different feelings and emotions, and that then causes a lot of havoc. So for us now to return to an innocence, like it's also, you know, seen with babies or little children, but an innocence that also, where there is also wisdom, understanding. And so what happens when we too much accustomed to always take information in and always, you know, look outside and want something. And I'm now referring not necessarily to physical things, but respect, for example, love, acceptance, so that I can feel belong. Now the world overall has become very dry. A lot of problems. Well, you know, many people, they don't really feel very happy. So what is it that, and then everyone has problems. So everyone has things going on in their life, you know. So many things happen and very fast. And so everyone has to, you know, catch up and see how they manage their own life. And then, you know, where to take to give mothers are giving, but then also at one point, you know, mothers also need to, if you don't look after yourself, eventually there will be some exhaustion, some emptiness. Healthcare system, you know, it's amazing what they have been doing non-stop for the benefit of others. But there's no time to, what's the word here, to nurture the self, to regain strength. And so to have that energy available where I can then also give with love and not only under pressure, because there's so much to do. And so when we only take from the outside, that's one aspect. So if we just keep taking, what happens that we also many times take sorrow. We're not only taking good things inside, we are also taking things inside that are not so good. You know, things that happen, adversities, what people say, and so on and so forth. And when I take, or people do things that are not really, really good, right? So then I may get even upset about it. I think about it. I take sorrow from it. So then the same thing that's happening outside is happening in my own mind. So how will I then feel about the person? How will I feel about the situation? How will I feel about the group? If I have negative thoughts. So I think one aspect that we need to learn and take responsibility for is to understand that whatever happens outside of me, whatever someone does or does not do, or whatever happens, it is what it is. There is not much that I can control about that. I don't have control about it. And everyone also, for example, everyone does the best they can, because if I could do better, I would do better, right? And that's probably true for everyone. And then you don't know what just happened to that person, that he or she is reacting like that. So not too much depend on really the performance of those around me, but to remember that they also have situations, difficulties in their life, and maybe there is also a lack of understanding sometimes. But whatever someone does or whatever someone is at any given moment, it's the best they can. And if I maintain my self-respect, then I will also have respect for the other one, and I will remind myself, wait a moment, maybe that being is not so bad, you know. I will have maybe the courage, the strength to connect with something positive, or at least have the faith that this was a temporary, this was a performance that just happened, but that same being can also perform differently in a more positive way. So in this case, then I don't take the problem or the bad feelings or the negative thoughts about the situation, about the person inside. And if I don't take that inside, my feelings will not change so much. I will not feel unhappy, upset, or even worse. If we can look at the world and whatever is going on more in the sense that whatever is happening, okay, so what? It is what it is, and learning to accept that, and then see where is it that I can contribute to make things better by having a positive vision, to upholding their hope for others, upholding their respect for others. And so for that, of course, I have to stay within my own self-respect. And that will also have an impact on my sense of belonging to individuals, to a group, to a family, to the world. Because if I'm very judgmental, if I'm critical, if I only pick on the weaknesses, on what is the problem, now that's what I will experience. And where there are problems, there is not necessarily a sense of belonging. Or when I disagree. And so what we also learn in spirituality, that it is very, very important to always connect to something positive, to the specialty, to a quality within myself and also outwardly. Only then will we be able to maintain also relationships and connections with myself and with others that are healthy, and where I can gradually build on it to make it even better. We're talking about belonging in a way. When we look at even the human family, and the word, I'm saying it already, when we look at everyone as a spiritual family, when we look at each other beyond the physical, when we connect with each other on a level where we have something in common, and we know that we are part of the same human family, then I have a way to interact that unites, that brings us together. if there is not love, what is it really that connects us? And when there is love, love is expressed, for example, by being accepting. You know, can we accept each other even though we are all different? And I think that acceptance will become easier and more doable, more practical when we start to look at each other as beings who are, you know, originally, eternally loveful, peaceful. And we are here to play our parts in our human form. But the essence of who I am, at the core of my being, there's peace, there's love, there's positivity, there's goodness, there's strength. And so I think the challenge is nowadays for all of us to actually go within and to create that sense of unity and love within my own self by accepting myself as a being of goodness. And learn to use my inner potential, my inner energies and share those with those around me, start to interact with myself and then with others on the basis of a universal love, a spiritual love, where I connect more to the being and not so necessarily what the being is doing right now. When you look at your own self, there are days, there are times where you feel good, where you perform very well. And there are times where we don't do so well. But do I want to be judged by others based on the days or the moments where I don't do so well? How will I feel? And so then for us also to learn to not be so judgmental based on what someone is doing, how they are performing, but discern between what someone is doing and who the being is. So to have hope, faith, and trust in the being that is essentially good, but under some influence and therefore performing negative, is a way for me to remain positive, maintain a positive connection. And that positive connection also carries, you know, that sense of belonging. We are strangers, but actually we are not so much strangers among our own selves. We are a human family. And we are here to express our strengths, our greatness. And so to have the courage to connect to my own inner greatness based on my spiritual identity, based on my core energies, and not so much based on, you know, physical accomplishments or possessions, this and that, or even physical appearance. But I think everyone has everyone has a right to peace, everyone has a right to love, to be loved and welcomed. And when we look at the spiritual dimension, then this is really who we are. And if we have faith in the self and in others, then I hold my vision on that understanding that the truth, peace is in everyone. And like the mother upholds a positive image, a positive vision for the child will be able to live up to that or come closer. But if the moment the mother does not uphold that loving, positive vision, the vision of potential for the child, what will happen? And so I think it starts within. We have to do this for our own self. Let go and forget what happened in the past. We all had adversities in our lives, smaller or bigger, longer or shorter. But it's a very powerful understanding that if I can accept it, that the story is really not so relevant. What is really relevant at this point in time is, okay, how do I feel and what do I do with it? What are my thoughts? What are my feelings right now? And use my power to choose, use my power to remind myself that there is much more to me than what is playing out right now. And have the courage to reconnect, touch base again with the higher self, with that part of me that is truth and always there. Not so much visible to my eyes, so it's not that I can touch it with my hands. It's invisible, but it's an understanding that I have. And it's important for me to maintain that awareness. And so one is my feelings, which is deeply connected to my way of thinking. My feeling towards myself, my feeling towards others. And then secondly, that understanding, that knowing that we are a family. If I am in a white body, black body, yellow body, doesn't matter what nationality, like poor, rich, what religion, these are actually not so much relevant. We must not limit our existence just to those physical appearances. And I think that's what nowadays is the ascending energy. When we think of the ascending energy, which is very much present, then this is an energy which is not visible. The destructive part of the energy, of the destructive energy, is very visible nowadays in the world. But the ascending energy, which is also very present, is not very visible. And that's where, my understanding and my faith comes in, knowing it is there. It is even within my own self. And it is also in others. And the source of it comes from a higher level. But do I have the courage to stay true to myself and keep reminding myself of my highest potential, and then make use of that. Okay, so maybe we'll do a meditation now, and I don't know if there's anyone who wants to share or ask something.
Sister Ines, there are a couple of questions posted.
Okay.
These two questions are kind of similar with each other, so I'm going to combine them because we are also kind of, and then, maybe Madhura can, if there is time, she can ask a question. So the question is, what about those who don't understand the concept of my inner love for self and love for them? And then there is another question which kind of jives with it. How can someone who is judgmental, one who don't understand you, your point of view, if they misunderstand you always, how can, this happen that you can kind of have a positive?
Like we mentioned earlier, babies are very dependent on how the primary caregiver interacts with the baby. And based on that interaction of what is reflected back to the baby learns. Now, if there is someone, a grown-up, an adult, who doesn't know about the more spiritual truth about themselves, who might be even, display certain negative tendencies. Now, if I believe in non-violence, right, then what would be a way to communicate to help the other one understand? So I will have to do this on the basis of love. And maybe it's not so much, it depends on the situation. If you meet the person one time only, or if this is someone you have relationship with, someone, a connection, you meet the person from time to time. But what will help someone is how I interact with them. If someone is very judgmental, then probably because the way that one grew up was he or she was in a very judgmental environment. If I have only pain inside or a lot of pain, how will I relate to the world around me? If I have pain inside, how do I have the strength to connect with the goodness in others? So by empowering the self and then developing that inner strength, which is connected, linked to my self-value and my self-respect, I will have also respect for someone who displays a more maybe ignorant, even negative image, and the actions are not very positive. So it's like I have to become the mother for my own self. And if I have that strength, then I will be able to uphold the respect, the dignity for the other person. And this will have an impact, the way I speak, the vision I hold. And even if I have the opportunity to share a few words, what's my intention? Do I want to convince? Do I want to, am I telling off someone? Or am I really coming from that genuine place where I'm interested in the well-being, in the upliftment, in the empowerment of the other person? You see, life is really not so much what's going on outside of us. Life is really what is going on within me, and how do I interact with the outer world under any circumstances. Because in the past, we didn't have all that information, and, pain and problems accumulated, and we started to, project our inner world to the outside, and we started to blame. But the outside is really not that relevant. It will trigger, but what matters is really what is it that I do within my own self? And that's where I have the power to choose and the power to control. And so I think the challenge for all of us is now to get my own relationship with my inner self right, and use that acceptance, that love, that compassion, patience, respect for my own self, to bring myself closer and closer to a state of truth where there is peace and love. I hope this kind of answered both questions.
I think it does address both the questions. It's all about the self. Yes.
You see, we cannot teach so much others. It's all about to what extent can we inspire someone. Unless I live my life per example, I won't be able to inspire anyone. You see, that's another concept and a deep understanding that we are learning in spirituality. Everyone has the right to be. But do I have the power to be peaceful in the moment of provocation? It's not up to me to judge others. You know?
Yeah, you can unmute yourself and speak. Somebody has raised their hand.
Hi.
Yes.
Hello. I understand what you're saying. I'm struggling with the concept of not being selfish. We were taught to never be selfish, always think of the other person, and it has never served me. You actually get taken advantage of. So I'm understanding what you're saying here is to nourish yourself first. And it's hard reversing that lifelong attitude of thinking of others first. And coming from a Christian background, we were taught to love no matter what, turn the other cheek, and think of the other person before yourself. And it never quite felt comfortable or made sense. And so now that I'm reversing that and thinking of myself after raising kids, having had a husband, it's like, wow, I miss myself. I didn't know that I should nourish me first. And that's what I'm learning now. And so you did clear up my question about that. And I don't feel guilty about thinking of myself. We were taught to feel guilty of thinking of yourself first. And it never made sense to me. And I never had the courage to question it because we didn't question because you think of others. So it's tough. I'm learning and I'm happy. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for sharing. I very much appreciate. Yes, you see that is our challenge. And you see, it's one aspect that I very much deeply, deeply appreciate in the teachings of Brahma Kumaris is that there is knowledge available and understanding available, teachings are available that allow us, that actually show us how, and now I'm talking over a long period of time, we have become very conditioned by culture, religion, and condition dependent on the family I'm born into. The family belongs, parents belong to a culture, they have a certain culture, they belong to a religion, society. Now, all of these influences are working on me, and I'm growing up in that environment. And especially if you believe in that concept of reincarnation, then just imagine one life you are in a Christian, another life you're a Buddhist, another life you're in a different religion. There's so much. But even if you don't believe or relate to the concept of reincarnation, just the conditioning of the mind that happens within one life is just tremendous. I grew up in a certain belief based on my parents, what they believe, it's handed over to me. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this is the right thing for me. And so no one really in the world has taught us that actually everyone has a right to find their own truth. And we are connecting here to a truth that is eternal. And so there's one supreme power, supreme being who is embodying, who is holding this truth that is eternal. And helping us to come out of all the conditioning and return to a state of being that we refer to as eternal or original. How I started my journey was I was complete and full. I had everything I needed within me. There was nothing lacking, and there was only light. There was no shadow. And so now the challenge at this point in time to move back to our original identity, our original truth. And what is true for each one of us, for the entire human family, that at the core of our being, there are those 5 essential qualities of peace, love, truth, strength, wisdom, joy. And this is who I am. And based on that understanding, how do I use my ability to think, to discern, to judge, to make decisions? And then, of course, the feelings that are being generated. And so, for example, the feeling of waste is one energy that's totally wasteful, because guilt is an energy that will never, ever allow me to grow. And, you know, when we look back in history, inducing feelings of guilt in others is a very good way to control others. But if someone wants to empower you, they will provide an environment of love to help you become strong. And not many human beings can do that, because everyone is afraid that they lose power, they lose their power. But there's one God who gives us the opportunity and reminds us of our essential being and the rights that we have. But I don't have the right to demand it from the outside. I have the right to reclaim it from the source and to reestablish that within myself on the basis of peace. And so that's why love is so crucial, because only when there's the energy of love can we really learn and become strong. Okay, I see the time. Should we just have a minute of reflection, meditation to close the evening? Would that be okay? If someone really has questions, then maybe you can put it in the chat and also give your contact information. We can then respond to you if you really want to. Or you bring it up next week with Sister Rona. Okay, for 1 or 2 minutes, just sit relaxed wherever you are. And check the body. If there is any tension, give the permission to let go. And then I bring the focus of attention inwardly. And you can visualize a sparkling point of stillness within your own mind. And so I take my attention away from the room I am in, even what I've heard the last hour, and I'm taking my mind beyond the thoughts that are circling around in my mind. I look at my mind and I tell it that for now, for a few moments, we will focus on peace, and I'm reconnecting to myself as this eternal being of light. I have gone beyond the physical sense perception and stabilized in an awareness that there is an eternal truth within me, and that truth is of strength, light, the light of peace, joy, spiritual love. This is, in essence, of who I am. And then when I look through my eyes, in every human body, there's a being, a conscious being, whose eternal truth is the same as mine. And so there is the reality of a spiritual family with the one supreme being, the ocean of peace, being my mother and father, the parent of the being. And everyone else is my spiritual brother. Or because they are in a body, my physical, my spiritual sister or spiritual brother. And what connects us is simply respect and love. There is no other obligation among siblings. And I, the being, I stay in tune and connected with the source to fill myself so that I can then distribute to others. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Om
Thank you
Shanti.
very much.
Om Shanti, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Om
much.
Shanti.